Welcome to the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions. My name is Kimberly Jackson, and I'm the Executive Director of the Institute. I'm so honored to have you here today for our program with Duke Energy and St. Petersburg College Workforce Program. Before we begin, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions. The Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions is the brainchild of Congressman Bill Young. Congressman Bill Young really sought to have us community get closer together by discussing civil, political, and social and economic topics in a nonpartisan way. He grew this think tank out of the belief that community matters. Over the past year, we've been doing our best to align the Institute with programs that our congressman would have envisioned. We've worked closely with Congressman Charlie Crist and Congressman Gus Bilirakis, and we thank them for their time working with VA programs and just discussing how we can better have access for our community. We invite you to look at our Facebook page to learn more about the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions and all of our programs. And later on, of course, we'll show you our website that we just launched and are pretty excited about. I'd also like, before we show our next video from our message from our president, I'd like to thank the Workforce Department for their collaboration in our environmental program. At SPC, we want to make sure that students rise. We want to make sure that you all are connected to the community, and our school is known for doing the very best to get you out into the public. So with that, I'll say thank you and welcome. Right after we have our message from the president, we will begin.
You know, civic engagement is so important, not only to St. Petersburg College, but to the benefit of our entire community. What we hope to do at St. Petersburg College, especially in the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions, our goal is to be the catalyst for change. We want to be the convener, the individuals who pull everybody together to talk about a common cause and a plan, to build the mission and the strategy, to move forward and make this county, this state, and our world a better place to live, learn, and play.
So once again, I'd like to thank the Dean of our Workforce Department, Mike Ramsey, and of course, Melinthia Berry, who also works very closely with that department, for setting us up with Melissa. And I don't want to mispronounce your last name, Sexius?
Spacious. It rhymes
spacious.
With spacious.
With spacious. Thank you. I've been practicing that. So it was the Vice President of Government and Community Relations at Duke Energy Corporation. She provides strategic oversight for the government and community relations team, executes the community leader strategy, and leads the customer satisfaction strategic plan. She also provides leadership to designated government and community relations managers in the areas of issues management, individual training and development, coaching and consultation, developing and implementing specific customer community leader strategies, and her duties include management of local government, business, and community relations and issues within Duke Energy's service territory. Through integration with internal partners, she develops, implements, and monitors strategies for the success of Duke Energy's business objectives and issues. As a director, she influences the outcomes of issues that affect Duke Energy's image and reputation in the communities we serve. Management of these stakeholders' relationships include interfacing with executives from both the stakeholder and Duke organizations, as well as key external participants, such as organizations like us. She serves on the board of directors on several nonprofit and business organizations, including Ruth Eckerd Hall, the Education Committee Chair, Clearwater Marine Aquarium, the Pinellas County Urban League, the St. Petersburg Downtown Partnership as the Vice Chair, and St. Pete Chamber of Commerce. You have quite the schedule. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And so with that, I'm going to have you just share a little bit about yourself, and thank you for connecting us with such a wonderful company, and more importantly, sharing your story with our students.
Oh, thank you. No, I am so grateful to be here with all of you today. I really, I do truly value the opportunity to talk with students. And just be forewarned, I'm in constant recruitment mode when it comes to engaging with students, because I've been with the company for almost 35 years, and somewhere in the near horizon, maybe retirement. And I would love nothing more than to see our next generation of employees join the company today and moving forward, so that we can meet the expectations and the demands of having a much, much greener future. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm hoping that we'll have some Q&A time together. And I want to thank Director Jackson and also Dean Ramsey for inviting me and being such gracious hosts thus far. So a little bit about me. I've been here in the Tampa Bay area in St. Petersburg since the mid-70s when my family moved here from Baltimore. My dad was an Army colonel and an attorney and retired, and he wanted to come here. My mother could not have been any more different than my father. She is one of 9 children, born in Brazil. Didn't have running water and electricity till she was a teenager, and she is the only member of her family that ended up leaving Brazil to come to the United States. So I grew up with a kind of a keen awareness that not everyone had the same background, and I think in a lot of ways that has continued to influence my work and my personal passions as well. And I wanted to be an engineer. That's when I was at Northeast High School here in Pinellas County. I was the only girl in the drafting department, and I wanted to be an engineer. Unfortunately, my dad died when I was about 13, and my mom never quite recovered from a perspective of she didn't have necessarily the skills to be very independent. She could cook you the best meals, she would take care of you, but had never even really learned to kind of balance a checkbook, to be quite candid. So all that to say that I didn't quite have the resources I needed to go to what seemed so far away then, USF in Tampa, to pursue an engineering degree. But I also had a very keen passion for what we would now call kind of the liberal arts. I didn't know to call it liberal arts back then, but I loved reading, I loved history. And so I had this interesting intersection of opportunity that happened early on for me. And that is I got a part-time job working at then Florida Power Corporation, which is the legacy company of Duke, and working in the engineering department as a draftsperson. So I worked part-time while I went to school full-time, and I drew the maps of the facilities in the field, the poles, the wires. I worked with engineers, I worked with line personnel, and it gave me a foundation of understanding how our system operates in a way that has brought me value every single day. In the introduction, it talks a lot about, strategic leadership and all these other things that I have the honor of leading, but it really kind of comes down to, I feel like I'm an interpreter in a lot of ways. So what that requires is that in my role and the role of my team is that we listen. We have to listen to our customers, we listen to our communities, and that allows us to kind of bring that intel inside to help kind of direct this big ship that is Duke Energy, which is a very technical, operational organization. So I worked part-time. I went to St. Pete Junior College and got my AA and moved on to Petersburg College and then to USF. So the young woman who wanted to be an engineer ended up with a master's degree in American history. And people will quite often ask me, well, why are you working for a power company when you have a master's degree in history? And what I will tell you is that the skills honed in a liberal arts program, the writing, reading, verbal communication, analytics, analytical thinking, the ability to kind of make an argument, not in a confrontational kind of way, but just to be able to convey your ideas in a way that you can help shape policy and you can help shape your company's strategic movement forward. So to this day, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to learn the business by literally drawing the maps. You drive around St. Pete and you see these yellow tags on the side of the pole that may say X2214. I bet you I was 20 years old and I hammered those things together, and they're still. So very proud of the history that I've had with the company. Fast forward, I don't know where almost 35 years goes, but I moved in from engineering to consumer affairs, which gave me the opportunity to work with the Public Service Commission and customers. And then went back to engineering, but more in a communication role. And I've been in government and community relations for probably almost 20 years now. Never a dull moment. We serve 35 counties in the state of Florida, about 2 million customers, but that's kind of meters. Number of people, closer to 4 million. We serve over 120 some odd cities. And so we, as a government community relations group, we have to really pay attention and again, listen. And you're going to hear me mention the skill set of listening and preparation throughout kind of my comments, because they tie directly to workforce, and especially workforce that is headed into this exciting future around green energy. But all of that to say that all of those things come together and allow us to listen to our communities, what's important to a city, what are their renewable goals, what's the feedback they have for us. You know, power companies are sometimes not on the top 10 list of beloved companies, right? But we do provide an essential service. And I can say, I don't think any of us would want to live without electricity. But that doesn't mean that we get to do what we want based on our own decisions, right? We are a regulated utility, Public Service Commission. We operate under the rules of a lot of federal agencies, but probably I see so much of our responsibility is to help our communities be their very best. Not what we think is their very best, but what they want. And that could mean cities in Central Florida that want to, that really value their trees. And so vegetation management matters to them. Coastal communities that want to move towards undergrounding of facilities. And of course, across the board, everyone just being empowered to manage their electric consumption and feeling that they are getting value from the usage that they use day in, day out for their family. So that's a little bit about kind of my background. I hope that helps to give a little context. And with that, would love to tackle some of the questions.
Wonderful. So the first question, so first I want to invite those who are participants, please kindly put your questions in the chat. We will try to get to as many as possible. And if not, I might have Dean Ramsey just sort of jump in, or Ms. Berry, who is also on the line, to jump in to just discuss. My first question, and that's to both of you. So Dean Ramsey, you can take yours off as well when it's your turn, is how do you define the green energy economy? So I want to preface that by saying I have so many students who want to talk about environmental issues, and then so many older adults, let's call it that, who have these intergenerational moments where they're trying to talk the same language. I would like to know from both of you all, how do you all define the green energy economy? Melissa, you can start first.
Hold on for 5 minutes. I would love to hear Dean Ramsey go first, and I'll follow up after him.
That is so funny, because I was thinking the same thing. I wanted to hear from the expert. But how I would define the green energy economy is there's lots of different pieces that are operating independently in this green energy world. You're seeing it with the hybrid vehicles and Tesla and everything they're doing in the transportation sector. You're seeing it in homes with solar powered individual residencies, and you're looking at the technology for storage of that power that's being captured and obtained through solar panels, and that technology evolving rapidly in order to make it more convenient and efficient for individuals to participate in this green energy economy space by generating their own electricity. Well, how does that assist me? The power companies are invested heavily themselves in capturing solar energy to help to power the grid. So as an individual, now I'm generating power that is not only powering my residence, but I have the ability to circulate that into the grid through a lot of the metering and reverse metering services that are becoming more and more readily available. But the number of jobs that are being created in this sector, I think you're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years increase exponentially as there are reliance, or I guess I should say our shift towards more green energy solutions to powering the things that we need and use every day. That sector, I believe, is on the precipice of truly exploding.
Melissa?
Well, I certainly agree with all of those points. And when I think about a green energy economy, I really think about all of the parts of the full supply chain of things that we don't ever even see. So let's even talk about like the solar panels that we have on the screen behind me or behind Director Jackson. And all of the green and sustainable and renewable components that go into what are the materials made of, how are they resourced, how's the transportation handled. All of those elements in that whole supply chain have the opportunity to move towards more renewables. And so we end up seeing the end product, right, as consumers, and not thinking about all of the jobs that went into getting us to this particular point. And I think that's the beauty of the diversity when it comes to kind of green economy. It could be everything from a wind turbine operator to an engineer, to a sustainability director that's working for a municipality. So none of those operating independently, because they truly all make up the supply chain, with hopefully the end result being the renewable energy that we are striving for, I think, as citizens.
Thank you so much for that. So of course, we're honored to be the recipient of a Duke grant. Could you explain a little bit about why SPC was chosen, what went into that, and how else you are investing in students?
Kim, I'm so sorry. Before we move on to that
Sure.
one, I want to circle back to Melissa.
Oh, absolutely.
We have this conversation and dialogue, because I've always wondered about this. And I mentioned in my comments about the shift towards individuals utilizing solar energy at a higher rate. And I know Duke Energy specifically is investing in expanding their ability to, capture solar energy. What is the business thought around that concept of individuals beginning to rely more on solar for their own personal residential usage versus the traditional supply that comes in from the power company? Is there a little bit of a tug of war between this expansion of individual use of solar and kind of more so the traditional reliance on the power company?
So I think we all have kind of a shared vision where energy production has less of an environmental impact. So in agreement on that. And as I mentioned before, Duke Energy as a power company is over 120 years old. So you think about all those decades where we have generated energy from kind of the traditional model, right, of fossil fuels and large power plants. And so, we find ourselves, though, in just the last several years, this really rapid acceleration of it's a priority for a lot of our customers to be more green, and therefore, of course, for us. And when I say for us as a company, it really puts us in a position of helping to take all of that historical, institutional, operational knowledge and meet our customers where that expectation is. Now we're a big organization, so sometimes the ship doesn't move as quickly as or turn as quickly as we want. But what we are seeing is that we've got to kind of tackle this on lots of different fronts. So one of the things that we are doing, in addition to building solar generation in multiple places around the state, one of the programs we're very excited about that we just developed is our Clean Energy Connection program. And what that will do is allow customers to participate in solar generated energy without having to invest solar on their own roof or having to live near or next to a solar plant. Mm-hmm. And that becomes an option. And we've just rolled this out. It's filed with the Public Service Commission, but we've had multiple cities. We're opening it up to municipalities and large customers first, and then residential. But thrilled to say that we have had City of St. Petersburg, Dunedin, Largo, Orange County have all subscribed to this particular plan because they see it as an opportunity to engage in renewables, meet those sustainability goals that they have without trying to invest in, Pinellas County, and the average solar plant, 600 acres that we would need, 400, 600 acres. You're not going to find that in Pinellas County, but that shouldn't preclude our citizens and our customers from participating in that. So things like the Clean Energy Connection. But I think, kind of going back to the start of your question, I think it's really, really important, the collaboration between investor-owned utilities or electric providers and those companies and entrepreneurs that are creating innovations around other types of energy sources. As a company, we do a lot in the R&D, research and development area, but that level of collaboration is so critically important so that we don't have this tug of war. As I said, sometimes we don't move quite as quickly as people would like us to, but it goes back to transparency, it goes back to listening, and it goes back to collaboration.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm going to defer my question that I had before because we do have our first question from our participants, and that's from Paul Jackson, and he asks, Duke and power companies in general are based on a business model of supplying power, selling energy. Given the potential of distributed power generation, for example, home solar, is Duke examining a business model expansion, change to a distribution provider? And if so, what is the time frame for such a change?
If we want to stay in existence, we have to kind of look and examine at all opportunities, right? Try to keep pace with the technology, the anticipated technology, that, and I think also the flexibility in what that means for the business model. As I've mentioned, we have generated and delivered energy in the same way for many, many decades. But because the world around us is changing so rapidly, we really need to not even just keep pace, but we need to really be on, I think, the leading edge of that innovation. I certainly can't predict the future, but technology breakthroughs like large scale battery storage will really be a game changer for our future, both here in the United States and across the world as well. So yes, we have to be, we hear this word agile quite a bit and flexible, but like I said, if we want to kind of remain in the game, we have to be on the leading edge, and that is our commitment.
Mike, did you want to add anything to that topic before we move on?
No, I think that was absolutely perfect. Kim,
Okay, okay. Well, I wanted to say, if you can just share, both of you, a little bit about your perspective about the Duke grant, about how you got into discussing it and the benefits on both sides, and further, what other investments you plan for students. I think that SPC is exceptional in that we provide a space where students can go and get work immediately or get employed, or we connect people. So I think it's important for students to know the opportunities and investment that both Duke Energy and SPC and other like-minded corporations might be doing.
I could talk about this partnership for a very long time, because I just have such great respect for Dr. Williams as the college president leader. But just when I look back on our history, Duke and the college have a decades-old relationship, and it's reciprocal. It's not just us providing funding for very important initiatives, from scholarships to different program support, but for us to work together on different initiatives that benefit the overall community. And I'm fortunate to have my path cross frequently with Dr. Williams. We both serve on the Pinellas County Urban League Board. I am the chair of the St. Pete Downtown Partnership and have been fortunate to recruit Dr. Williams to our executive committee. So, this is more than just writing a check, right? Because we as a company are only going to be as healthy as our communities, and we also need to reflect our communities as well. And so, as an industry, line personnel or line workers is a role that there's a lot of competition for finding employees that will serve in that role. And I would put these men and women up there as first responders in a lot of ways, right? When post-hurricane, we just brought back about 200 and 250 employees and contractors that have been working in Louisiana after Hurricane Laura, because we never know when we're going to need those power companies to come help us. But we have seen across the nation a gap in the number of young people going into craft and technical from a line worker perspective. And so what we also found as a trend is that we would hire people in kind of the Tampa Bay area, and then they would look for the opportunity to move elsewhere in our state, still within the Duke Energy service area, but maybe in an area that had a lower cost of living, more open space, whatever the case may be. And it very important to our president, Catherine Stempian, and our senior vice president, Barry Anderson, to hire local and provide an employment that people would feel compelled that they want to stay. They want to grow in their careers. We have a lot of people who have started as line workers and they are now in senior executive positions because of the experience that they have collected along the way. So when we've started talking, so we have a line worker program with Lake Sumter State College in southern part of our service area, and it's been a phenomenal success. These students were getting hired before they would even graduate. And a journeyman lineman, which is kind of a technical bargaining unit term, they can make six figures a year based on call out experience and so forth. What we found though is we wanted to hire local here in the Tampa Bay area, and we wanted those new employees to continue to call this home and not end up leaving our area. So what better partner than St. Pete College? And I will tell you, you guys have a fantastic leader, because Dr. Williams never passed up an opportunity to say, well, where are we with this? And I would have to say, we don't move that as rapidly sometimes, but hang in there with us. We're going to get there. So absolutely thrilled that our foundation unanimously approved a $100,000 grant to focus on minority students in underserved areas, but not limited to that, but who want to move into the craft and technical world online to be a representative of our line worker program.
That's outstanding. And I echo, she's an excellent champion. So,
oh my gosh, she's wonderful. And this builds on a foundation that we have. I mean, we have been partners, as I said. We have funded year over year first generation scholarships. We were the presenting sponsor for the opening of the Midtown campus. You know, we try to be there for the college because that workforce that you're training, we need them.
Yeah.
We need them, and we want them to feel like they've got an option in their own hometown, that they can stay here and not have to leave us.
Mike, would you like to add anything to that?
I think that Melissa did a phenomenal job of explaining, you know, why and the benefits of this partnership and what we're doing. I'll just put a cherry on top of it and say that Duke has been phenomenal to work with through this process. From going above and beyond even the $100,000 grant, they've donated $34,000 in equipment and materials and supplies to help to get the program going. Countless hours of expertise, subject matter expertise, as we design the curriculum and begin to actually put this into an operational program that's going to serve the Southern St. Petersburg community well for many years to come. And I think that this is a true win-win partnership where the community is the ultimate winner, because these jobs, you know, we see the trucks on the road whenever there's a storm or the lights go out and somebody has to go out and repair the lines. But if I'm not exposed to how I can become a part of that career trajectory, I'd never even know that I had a shot at pursuing a career path that I can make over $100,000 a year in. That truly changes the trajectory of families, which changes the trajectory of our communities. And this type of initiative, as it continues to take hold and benefits the people who need it the most, I think is going to become contagious. And you'll see this type of model multiplied in other sectors as we move forward.
Thank you for that. It's generational change is what I always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we
Yep.
create generational change? And you spoke so eloquently, Melissa, about your own personal story and, you know, and also how that impacted your family, and also about your own degree path of American history, which I find very interesting. What would you say, though, to students as the best skill set or area to pursue if they're trying to get into this new industry?
So the beauty of it is diversity. And as I mentioned kind of at the top of our time together, it could be on the craft and technical side. It could be a solar installer. It could be somebody who is working on kind of repairs, maintenance of renewable facilities, supporting R&D research, but it could be on the science side. It could be on the policy side, which is going to continue to be huge. So those of you that are interested in you know, government relations and policy development, the law, certainly, I mean, my guess would be any one of the 29 participants that I see are participating today. Whatever your interest is, we could apply it somewhere in the energy future around renewables. I guarantee that there is a spot there. So the skill sets that I would focus on, I think kind of, I'll tie it back to what I said early on. I do think that there is, don't limit yourself just to the area that you're interested in. Develop skills that allow you to be successful in your communication with people and your interaction with people. So, you know, we've always called them kind of soft skills, but these skills are essential. Yeah. Verbally, to be able to communicate, in a written form, your ability to kind of convey your ideas and your thoughts, that, and your interpersonal skills as well. As much as we all rely on our phones and now we're interacting through other kinds of technology, interpersonal communication is really, will continue to be key, especially for those of you who might be interested in helping to implement more renewables into your own community, because you'll need to sit down and talk with and understand what neighborhood leaders want or faith-based leaders want. You'll need to be able to articulate and discuss and kind of transform ideas into action when it comes to the planning side and permitting and all of these more technical areas. So the skill sets are far and wide. As I said, though, think about kind of those skills that transcend a certain job title. And then I think you can't go wrong. I will give you an example. Our renewables manager here in Florida is an engineer, ran power plants for years. He is one of the most skilled people that I know when it comes to building trust with our stakeholders, because his communication style and really helps build kind of that confidence in what he is saying. So I'm sure when he was in engineering school, he wasn't thinking, you know, I'm gonna have to hone my skills on how to go out and talk at a neighborhood association meeting. But along the way, perfecting those skills has allowed him to do that.
Mike, would you add anything to that? You're muted.
Happens at least once a day.
Once a day, at least.
At least once a day. I think that, again, to reiterate what Melissa was saying, as diverse as this energy sector is, there's a place in it for everyone. Mm-hmm. Whatever your unique skill set, interests, and abilities are, there's a wide variety of career pathways that will be a good match for you in the sector. And I think that if you're a hands-on person, solar installation is a phenomenal pathway to pursue. We're actually going to launch a solar installation program here at St. Petersburg College early spring. We're targeting February for a start date for it. And we're extremely excited about it. And we feel like it'll be a great complement to our line worker program in trying to fulfill a need for energy workers here in our local community. But from accounting to marketing to sales, and there's a plethora of new opportunities in this sector that, you know, everyone will be able to participate in the green economy through.
Yeah. So I have another question about recruitment. So of course, the students who are now have the privilege of benefiting from the program and the collaboration, they will have a straight pipeline. What about our students who are finishing up or maybe have already transferred to USF or their other selected school? How do you recruit them to get directly into the industry?
So we have our recruitment processes, but if I may, I'd like to just kind of focus a little more, again, kind of two-way street, right? We'll do our part, but really it's wonderful to see when students kind of take an initiative either through their career services or other clubs that they're involved in internally at the college, or even sitting down with either one of you as leaders to get your thoughts and kind of be willing to say, hey, there was that woman who spoke at the Strategic Institute. What was her name? Mindy, Melanie? Can you reconnect? Could you connect me with her? Be willing to explore networks and build those networks. And I think you will find that even cold calling, I can't tell you the number of times I'll get an email from somebody at our call center that will say, somebody called and asked about learning more about XYZ. And so we will try to direct them and connect them to answer their questions and to get some, provide them some of that connection that they are looking for. I'll give you an example of a student. This was at USF. She was in her senior year, very interested in energy, sustainability. And I'm telling you, she ended up building a relationship with the county administrator. Somebody at the college, the vice chancellor, introduced her to me. I started inviting her to luncheons that we would host that I thought would be of interest to her. I scheduled 30 minutes for her to talk to our energy policy person. The next thing I know, they're in there for 3 hours. They went to lunch. You know, those, you never know how that will kind of snowball. So be willing to kind of put yourself out there. I think the thing that you'll find about a place like Pinellas County, and especially I'll say about St. Petersburg, and you know, Clearwater and Tarpon, all these great communities where St. Pete College has a presence, there is really a willingness, I think, among citizens and leaders to want to connect people. So take advantage of that. From a Duke perspective, we have our workforce development and hiring group focus on programs like the one that we just established with St. Pete College. They were heavily involved in that program. We work closely with veterans organizations as well, both with the college and USF and other agencies to target and hire those who have served in the military. I'll give you another example. Young man who served in, and I don't remember which branch of the service, but he was a veteran, young man, really wanted to be a lineman. And, but he came to the company, he took a job in the call center, answering customer calls because he wanted to get his foot in the door. And so in the process, he learned so much about the company. But to me, that was so such a great illustration of somebody recognizing that, okay, I want that job over there, but I might have to take this job over here in order to get to that place. So just recognizing that you might not always be able to jump to, you know, director of this or you know, manager of that or whatever the case may be. But the progression that you'll build on will serve you whether you are here or whether you are in another part of the energy sector.
Well, I can't thank you guys both enough. I have a question for each of you all before we wrap up with our final closing remarks. And the first one is to you, Mike, and that is, are there any associations or community group students who can connect or volunteer or join to get a part of this? And before you answer, Melissa, I'd like you to think about the question, which is, what does the future of Duke look like in the next 10 years for the green economy? And what type of jobs do you think will be needed? And further, how is Duke Energy preparing for it? So Mike, if you can begin first, and Melissa, if you can close us out before I give our final thank yous as we progress towards our last videos.
I don't have a great answer for them. I'm not aware of any. I'm still fairly new here at the college. I don't know if there's a green energy club. I know we have a sustainability management AS degree program, so I'm assuming that there may be one attached to it, but I don't know for sure. So I'll have to circle back around to you and find out, and we can email that answer out to the participants. But I would say if there's not one, it's a great opportunity to start one. It would be, right on time I'm sure there's other students with like-minded interests that are highly concerned about our planet and our environment and are extremely interested in helping in those efforts. So if I don't come back with a good answer and say we don't have one, it's a great time to start one.
Thank you. And Melissa, I know I gave you a mouthful of a question, but it's a really great question about what does the future look like?
The future is definitely green, I will tell you. And so from our commitment as a company, we have committed to building, back in 2017, we committed to building 700 megawatts of solar energy. And a megawatt on average serves about, about 1,000 homes or so. So we are closing in on completing that commitment. We've got, I'm looking at a list here because I'm at the point I can't keep up with the growing number, but we've got 2 that are under construction that will go online in February and March, Santa Fe and Twin Rivers. And then we are in the early process of the final 3 in Hardee County, Manatee County, and hopefully Alachua County. All of those are about 75 megawatts. So, people have, and every project brings in about 200 to 300 temporary construction jobs. And so that's kind of where we talk on the craft and technical side. And then there's the continuing operational perspective of it. There's the maintenance perspective of it, although I would be remiss in a very cool technology that we are using drones to help identify and check kind of the heat color on the panels to see if one is not operating correctly. So it's a very cool technology. But a lot of it still continues around energy efficiency. COVID really kind of turned a lot of green jobs upside down on their heads, like a lot of industries did. But for like our energy efficiency, energy check program, you have to go into a customer's home. And when COVID hit, you couldn't go into a customer's home. So we've had to look at other ways to expand that accessibility for customers to manage their own consumption. We have kind of toolkits, online toolkits. So that brings me to, positions continuing around customer care and customer call center specialists who I will tell you are exceptional and have some of the toughest jobs because they got to know a lot about a whole bunch of things. So on the R&D side, on the environmental side, I mean, we have scientists who work for us. We have a gentleman who is up in Crystal River, and he works with at our Mariculture Center, which is all about fish release back into the Gulf of Mexico. So you name it, what you're interested in, we could find a job for you here. But more and more our focus is on around renewables, and not just solar, right? There's all kinds of R&D around thermal, hydro, tidal, wind. Although the wind profile in Florida is not great, we still are doing a whole lot of R&D on that as well, because we serve other states as well, North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky as well. So very different needs from an environmental standpoint. I hope that helps to answer some of that question.
It did, and it brought one more question, even though I promised to end it timely for our students in particular, but how would you rate our community, and how would you rate your industry peers, and how we're adapting to COVID and the challenges that COVID is bringing, particularly with, this new emergence of a green economy, and COVID challenges? How would you rate the community and peers and how we're adapting?
Yeah, well, COVID did have a huge impact on green jobs, again, as it did across all kinds of industries. So, one of the things that we did when we talk about investing in students, we gave a grant to the Solar, I want to get the name right, Solar Energy International, and the scholarship fund was intended to help with utilizing the gap in employment for training for students and citizens who are interested in green jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the job was impacted, but they wanted to extend their skills and expand their skills. That kind of investment from a company like Duke is critical. We have talk about skin in the game. And so, the other side of this, though, is truly the economic impact and our customers who have lost jobs and who have economic pressures. And as utilities, how we are working with our customers in the community to help them through this process. And what I would say for anyone who is on the phone, if you know anyone who is struggling or needs to get a little bit of cushion as far as their payments, please, please, please call us and we will work with you and being flexible. So I think that is the other part. You generate it, you deliver it, but on the other end of that meter are families and individuals and senior citizens and, at home teaching kids, right? So please call us if there's any kind of assistance that is needed. We want to work with you.
Well, on that note, I just want to say thank you so much. I think Mike has something to say. Do you have a wrap up? Okay.
Hey, I did a little research. Yeah. Student chapter of Tampa Bay Environmental Professionals is a forum for environmental professionals and students to network and learn how to make a difference in the Tampa Bay region. So I will put some information together for anybody that's interested in it. Please reach out and I'll make sure I connect you to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Bo, for your time. Your time is valuable. And we plan to, of course, digitize this and present it to all partners who want to continue the conversation about the green economy. And with that, I'd like to ask that we put up our new website. So we're excited at the Institute. We're launching a new website. It's the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions, ISPS, at spcollege.edu. Again, that's ISPS at spcollege.edu. And we're hoping that you get a little bit more information about what we do on a broader level. Also, you see our partners displayed at the bottom. Our partners are ongoing rotation of our commitment to work with the community. Dr. Williams really encouraged that. And I would echo what Melissa said about this is a community where networking matters. And so we're very pleased to work across the entire county from Tarpon to St. Petersburg with organizations, nonprofit and public and private, who want to make a difference in the community and make us better. So with that, for all of our upcoming programs or our former events, or just to learn and contact us on ways that you can help, please look at our website. And with that, I'd like to close with one of our board members, a recent board member. His name is Jeff Johnson, and he is a statewide director for AARP. He's going to share a little bit about what the Institute does and the importance of connectivity. And thank you again for your program, for your time today. This is an excellent conversation and one that's unique in nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
AARP is an organization that was really founded by volunteers for civic engagement. And while the issue sets of the different participants in this group may vary, the reality is that we all rely on having a strong civic culture in order to be able to make our communities and our state even better than it is today. It was disturbing to us to find out that Florida actually ranks really low when it comes to virtually every measure of civic engagement, and we feel that being part of a broad coalition that's here to try to improve those numbers is our best way to contribute to a better Florida. it's important to use opportunities to get together for a couple of reasons. One, to highlight the good work that's already been out there and sort of plant seeds with other participants about where they could take ideas from another part of the state or another audience and try to tweak it to make it fit their particular situation. I think at the same time, it's really helpful for people who are really focused on how we engage citizens and residents of the state in the civic culture to get a chance to be together and support one another. In a lot of ways, this is a chance for the people who are most passionate about it to get together and feed off each other's energy so we can go back out to our communities and our audiences and really deliver the message that this is a critical part of what it means to be a Floridian.